Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, welcome to our video. Okay, I want to introduce myself. My name is Diliana Vitasari, and I along with my partner Bintang Kurnia Hidayat. We are from class F of the Sharia Economics Study Program. And here, from Group 9, get the text to make a learning journal about Islamic economic thoughts during the time of Al-Ghazali, Ibn Rashid, and also Ibn Taymiyyah. And here we will provide important information, and also we will tell you about the thoughts of these three figures. Well, it doesn't take long for us to go straight to Al-Ghazali's economic thinking. Well, here I will tell you about Islamic economic thoughts during Al-Ghazali's time. Before that, I will explain his biography first. He has the full name Abu Hamid Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Ghazali al-Tusi. He was born in the Gaza city of Tusi, a small town in the Khorasan province, Iran. He was born on 450 Hijri or 1058 Anno Domini, which at that time was the reign of the Abbasid state. Thus, he is a descendant of the original Persian. He died on 14 Jumadil at the end of 505 Hijri or December 1111 Anno Domini. Since young, Imam al-Ghazali lived in the world of Sufism. He was very enthusiastic about science. We can prove it when he was a child. He studied Arabic and also fiqh in the city of Tusi. Under the tutelage of an educator and expert on Sufism named Sheikh Ahmad bin Muhammad Ar-Razakani, then he continued to study the basics of Usul Fiqh in the city of Jurjan, to took knowledge from Imam Abu Nashr al-Ismaili and wrote the book at Ta'liqat. After returning to the city of Tusi, Imam al-Ghazali studied with Imam Haramain Juwaini. After that, he moved to Naisabur and studied science kalam or theology to Imam Haramain Juwaini. Then, he visited the city of Baghdad, the capital of Abbasid state, and met a character named Wazir Nizam al-Mulk, when at the time in the year 484 Hijri or 1091 Anno Domini. He was appointed a teacher at the Nizamiyah Madrasa, a high school in the city of Baghdad itself, which was founded by Wazir Nizam al-Mulk. Imam al-Ghazali's work have been estimated at 13 works covering various disciplines such as logic, philosophy, moral, philosophers, exegesis, fiqh, Quranic sciences, Sufism, politics, administration, and economic actors. Economic thinking from Imam al-Ghazali is known to have a very broad thoughts in various fields of science. His discussion about the economy can be found in his monumentary work, namely Ihya Ulumuddin, Al-Mustafa Mizan, Al-Amal, and Atib al-Masbuki fi al-Nantihah al-Mulk. Imam al-Ghazali's economic discussion includes broad aspects including the exchange and evolution of the market, projection, barter, and money evolution, as well as the role of state and public finance. In the book of Ihya Ulumuddin, there are several economic concepts by Imam al-Ghazali, among others, first, voluntary exchange, and market evolution. Imam al-Ghazali stated that the emergence of the market is based on the forces of demand, supply, price, and profits. Then he also put forward the ethics of market behavior, namely prohibited from hoarding food and other basic necessities, and having a culture of truth and honesty, as well as being gentle with the poor and flexible towards debt transaction and making it easier to be able to free people's debts and poor. In the view of Imam al-Ghazali, the market must function based on ethics and morals for the perpetrators. Then, for the economic activity, Imam al-Ghazali pays considerable attention when describing various kinds of projection activities in a society, including the projection projection of basic necessities is a social obligation. The second is regarding the projection hierarchy. Then the stage of projection are interrelated between projection and various communities. There is a division of labor, coordination, and cooperation. The fourth notes the means barter and the evolution of money. One of the most important inventions in the economy is money. The problem of bartering and the need for money itself is that there is a lack of common denominator and also the indivisibility of goods and the necessity of having the double coincidence of funds. The next is the prohibition of money hoarding because it gives birth to inflation. Next is the prohibition of counterfeiting and depreciating the value of money, and the prohibition of usury because usury is a sin. Riba is a practice of abusing the dangerous function of money as hoarding goods for individual interest. Then the role of the state and public finance is the last. The state as an important institution for the running of economic activity. Economic progress through justice, peace, and stability that focuses on increasing economic prosperity. Sources of state income must be distributed at the public debt. Al-Ghazali allows it because it guarantees the repayment of future income. Next is that public spending must be recommended by Al-Ghazali to uphold socio-economic justice, security, and also state stability and the development of a prosperous society. The need to build the infrastructure of the socio-economic itself. For economic thoughts during Al-Ghazali's time, right? Next, let's go to the thoughts of Ibn Rashid. Well, here I will tell you about Islamic economic thoughts during Ibn Rashid time. Before that, I will explain his biography first. Ibn Rashid's full name was Abu al-Walid Muhammad ibn Muhammad ibn Rashid. He was born in Cordoba, Spain in 520 Hijri or 1126 Anno Domini. Has a family that is known to be famous in terms of wiki. He was born during the reign Al-Murafi'ah. The disgrace and torments he received and his expulsion from his homeland in 593 Hijri or 1196 Anno Domini.
The works of Ibn Rushd. There are four, namely the first, Tahafut at-Tahafut, the second, Fas al-Makhol fi Mabain al-Hikmat wa al-Syari'ah min al-Ittisal, the third, Al-Kashif an Manahij al-Adillat fi Aqaid al-Milad, the last, Bidayat al-Mujtahid wa Nihayat al-Muqtashid. Economic thoughts of Ibn Rushd. Law of cause and effect in natural and social phenomena, including the economic law of demand and supply, which was developed by subsequent scientists. The higher the level of living things, said Rashid, the higher the variety of activities, or including consumption and production and their work. Community is divided to groups. There are the elite group consisting of philosophers and the public. Layman inspired Karl Marx class theory. First, Mudarabah in Ibn Rushd view. Second, legitimacy of the Mudarabah agreement. Third, Mudarabah investment capital. Fourth, the form of the Mudarabah contract. Fifth, funding the distribution of trades of. Sixth, law of causality of economic thoughts Ibn Rushd, the last function of money. Next, economic thoughts of Ibn Taymiyyah. Short biography of Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah's full name is Taqiyuddin Ahmad bin Abdul Halim, was born in town of Haran, a small town in northern Mesopotamia, near Urfa in southeastern Turkey on Monday, January 22, 1263 AD. Grew up in the family of great scholars of Hanbali sect, expert in interpretation, hadith, fiqh, mathematics, and philosophy in his teens. In addition, he is famous a writer, orator, and at the same time a reliable war leader. In his young Moses, he was displaced by Mongol invasions and arrived in Damascus with his parents in 1268 AD. At the time, he was almost 6 years old. In 1282 AD, when his father died Ibn Taymiyyah succeeded his father as professor of Hanbali law and held this position for 17 years old. His economic thought is widely found in a number of his writings, such as Majmu' Fatwa Shaykh al-Islam and Al-Hizbah fi al-Islam. Ibn Taymiyyah died in 728 AD and was interred in a Shafi cemetery. Ibn Taymiyyah's market mechanism. His view of the free market, where a price is considered by forces of supply and demand. There is a habit that occurred in the time Ibn Taymiyyah. Price increases occurred due to injustice or malpractice from sellers, so the word used is zulm, which means lawlessness or injustice. Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned two sources of supplies, namely local production and import of request item, or ma yuklaq au yudlab min zalik al-mal al-matlub. Ibn Taymiyyah gives an explanation of some of the factors that influence demand and its consequence, that is, people's desire to the variety of item depending on the customer who needs the item. Prices will also vary according to the quality of the buyer of the item or al-mu'awid, and thus the price level is also influenced by the type of money used as means of payment. Compensation and price. Ibn Taymiyyah's concept of fair compensation or iwad al-miths and fair price or saman al-miths is not the same. Fair compensation is a commensurate replacement, which is the equivalent price value of an object according to custom. Equal compensation is measured and estimated by equals without any addition and deduction, while a fair price is the value of the price at which people sell their item can be generally accepted as commensurate with the item sold or other similar item in certain place and times. The justice desired by Ibn Taymiyyah is related to the principle of la darar, which is not to hurt and harm others so that doing justice will prevent the occurrence of injustice. The equivalent price, according to Ibn Taymiyyah, is the raw price or si'ir, or the equivalent price according to the wishes or more precisely, the price set by the market forces that run freely between supply and demand. Equal profit or fair. Ibn Taymiyyah encouraged sellers to be entitled to generally accepted profits or al-rib al-ma'ruf without damaging their interest and the interest of their customers. A fair advantage is a normal gain that is generally derived from a wide variety of trading models without harming each other. Price regulation. Ibn Taymiyyah shared two types of pricing. The first, unfair and invalid, is forcing the population to sell merchandise without the basis of obligation to sell is an unjust act and injustice is forbidden. The second, fair and valid, is when the government forces someone to sell his item at an honest price if the people needs it most. In setting price, the highest and lowest level can be set so that the interest of two parties, sellers and buyers, is protected. Money and monetary policy. Characteristic and function of money. In particular, Ibn Taymiyyah mentions the main function of money, namely as measure of value and a medium of exchange for a number of different items. Decrease in currency value. Ibn Taymiyyah had talks about the volume of goods having to correspond to the proportion of the number of transactions that took place to guarantee a fair price. A bad currency will get rid of good currency. Along with the presence of new currency values, people will get a lower price for their item, and it is also stated that bad quality money will remove good quality money from circulation. This was due to the circulation of more than one type of currency at a time with different precious metal content. Economic policy. According to Ibn Taymiyyah, the state has the right to intervene individual rights for the benefit of greater benefits, such as eliminating poverty, monitoring market mechanism, controlling currency expansion, and overseeing the decline in the value of currencies, and economic planning. Thank you for watching our presentation. I am Bintang and Delia, my partner. Apologize if there are word mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.